One of the biggest problems with AI-generated coloring book is consistency. Some tools create messy lines, some struggle with complex scenes, and others just don't look KDP ready. So I tested 5 AI tools against something that already sets the standard, a real KDP bestseller. Using the exact same prompts, I tested each tool to see which one could recreate the art style, characters, layouts, and overall quality of the bestseller. And honestly, one of them got scary close. So here's the original bestseller that we're cloning. And before testing anything, I used Claude AI to analyze the coloring book and generate highly detailed prompts designed to replicate its style. And every tool in this experiment will use the exact same prompt. No adjustment, no advantages. Now the only question is which AI can execute it best. Let's start the test. Now for this experiment, I'm going to be testing each AI tool across 3 different coloring pages from this best-selling coloring book. So these are the pages I'm going to be using. Each round gets harder, and I will be judging them based on the accuracy, the cleanliness, the distortion level, the KDP readiness, the consistency, and the generation speed. So this is the first page that I'm going to use this AI tool to try to clone. First up is ChatGPT. I've imputed the detailed prompt and I'm hitting generate. So this is the image that ChatGPT gave, and honestly, I'm not going to lie, it actually took a lot of time to generate. Although I am using the free version of ChatGPT, so maybe that was a factor. Now, in terms of the image, the lines are actually cleaner than I expected. However, the outlines are not so bold, which is one of the key things of a bestseller, bold, thick outlines. And when you zoom closely, you can see that some outlines were not completely created. And if we should put it side by side with the bestseller, you can obviously see the difference in the outline thickness. So for the accuracy, I'm going to give it a 7.5 over 10. For the cleanliness, I'm going to give it 7. For the distortion level, like in terms of how well it was able to prevent distortion, I'm going to give it a 6. For the KDP readiness, I'm going to give it a 6.5. For the generation speed, I'm going to give it a 2. Second tool I'm going to be testing is Canva AI. Now, in Canva does have an AI assistant embedded in it where you can actually put in your prompt and it's going to convert that prompt into an image. So I'm pasting the exact prompt that I'm using for all AI. So this is the exact prompt I use for ChatGPT, and I'm going to click enter. Now, Canva AI has actually given some images and it actually did 3 at a go. So I'm just going to probably give my verdict on the best one. I'll be making use of this here. I am really shocked at this. I mean, this is way out of what we are actually aiming for. The proportion already looks weird. The write-ups are weird. And when you even zoom in, you can tell that all the proportions are off. The line quality seems sort of okay, but what is the line quality if there are so many distortions? So for the accuracy, I'm going to give it a 2. For the cleanliness, I'm going to give it a 2. For how well it was able to reduce distortions, I'm going to give it 1. For the KDP readiness, I'm going to give it 0. For the generation speed, it did take shorter period compared to ChatGPT, so I'm going to give it a 4. I'm really hoping that the next AI tool is going to do way better. Now, the third AI tool is Kittle, and this particular tool, you can use it to create coloring images and other stuff. So we're going to be using it the same prompt that we used for both Canva AI and ChatGPT. I'm imputing it here and I'm going to hit generate. Okay, this was really fast. So this is way better than what Canva AI gave. It did try in terms of trying to get the whole positioning and structure just like from the bestseller. But we need to be sure that everything looks well. You can see there's a little bit of mistake here. However, I think I'm way impressed considering the fact that Canva AI really messed up. So for Kittle AI, I'm going to be giving the accuracy to be a 7. I really like the output, the line strength, the thickness, really KDP friendly. The cleanliness, I'm going to give it a 7 as well. For the distortion, how well it was able to manage distortion, I'm going to give it a 7. For the KDP readiness, I'll give it a 7. For the generation speed, I'm going to give it a 9. Now, this is getting super interesting. Let us see if the next AI tool can actually outdo this one and even better outdo all the others so far. Next up is Coloring Book AI, and this is an AI tool that is specifically built to help create coloring images. So I'm going to input the exact same prompt I used for the others. I'm going to put it on private, upscale for print, remove watermark. I'll leave the difficulty level in teenagers, and I'm going to hit generate. Wow, honestly, this one is way closer than I expected. So for the accuracy, I'm going to give this an 8.5 over 10. For the cleanliness, if we should zoom in, you can see that every outline just seems so intact, completely. For the cleanliness, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. For the distortion level, how well it was able to have as minimum distortion as possible, I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. For the KDP readiness, I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. And for the generation speed, it actually did take a little bit over a minute, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Now for the next AI tool, let us see if this can blow the last one out of the water. So I'm pasting the exact same prompt. I'm keeping everything the same, and I'm going to generate. Interesting. I mean, this looks sort of good. When you put it side by side with the original image, they actually feel like similar, even though there are some obvious differences. So for the accuracy, I'm going to give this a 6.5. For the cleanliness, you can see that the lines actually look neat. There are no messy lines. So I'm going to give that a 7. For how well he was able to handle distortions, if you zoom in, you can see a lot of distortions here. See the 50% distortion. You can see the books here. They already look blended into one. I mean, when you zoom up here, you can see some form of open-ended sides, which is not really what we're going for. So for that, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. For the KDP readiness, I'm going to give it a 5 as well out of 10. And for its generation speed, it does take short time to generate. It generated this in about 18 seconds. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. It did generate it fast. Now, the difficulty increases. For this next level, we're going to try to clone this particular image. Now, typically with AI tools, this is where distortion appears and all other AI weaknesses appears. And at this point, we would also be judging the consistency level. How well can AI keep up with the consistency of the image? First up, ChatGPT. I'm going to paste in the prompt I got from Claude AI, and I'm going to hit generate. This actually looks okay. However, when you put it side by side with the actual image we are trying to clone, you can literally see the obvious difference. So for the accuracy, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 10. For the cleanliness, when you zoom in, it does try its best to have complete outlines, although you could still see it blurred out in some areas and incompletely drawn outlines. So for the cleanliness, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. For the KDP readiness, I'm going to give it a 6 as well over 10. Now for the consistency, if you do look at how it was generated and the previous one, both of them could actually sit in the same book and give off the same feel. So for the consistency, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. And for the generation speed, I will give it an 8 over 10 because this time it didn't really take a bit of time. Next up is Canva AI. I'm going to be copying the exact same prompt like I used for ChatGPT, and I'm going to hit generate. Let us see if Canva AI can outdo what ChatGPT did and give us something even stunning for KDP. Okay, this didn't take time at all. It did generate 3 images, so I'm going to randomly pick the best, I think. So I will go with this one. Okay, this is so bad, I can't even explain it. This is what Canva AI gave, and When you even put it side by side with the original image, you can literally not even tell that we are trying to clone something. This is not good at all. And this is where some AI actually develop a lot of errors. Now, for the accuracy level, I'm going to give it a 0 out of 10. For the cleanliness, you can see that there are a lot of incomplete outline. I mean, is this even a pizza slice at all? So many incomplete outlines, and it's not just good at all. So I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10. For the distortion level, how well was it able to manage distortion? I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. Obviously, you can see some distortions here and there. For its KDP readiness, I'm going to give it a 1. I mean, ain't nobody coloring this. For the consistency, this as well as what it gave in the past, they kind of feel alike, like they match each other. So for the consistency, I will give it a 6 out of 10. For the generation speed, it was super fast. I don't know if that's the reason why the outputs are so poor. However, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 for its generation speed. Next up is Keto. I'm going to paste the exact same prompt. Can Keto outdo ChatGPT, Canva AI, and set this on a new bar? Now I'm hitting generate and I'm just crossing my fingers. Let's see how this goes. And it did try its best to some extent. However, when you put it side by side to the actual image that we're trying to clone, you can see the very obvious difference. So for the accuracy, I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 10. For the cleanliness, when you kind of zoom in, you can see that it does have really good and complete outlines. So I'm going to give it like a 7 out of 10. For how well it was able to manage distortions, you can see the pizza shape is somehow funny looking. I mean, there's no way you're going to cut a pizza size and it's going to be this shape. Also, you can see the pizza is spelled wrongly. I mean, you had just one job. So for the distortion level, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 10. For the KDP readiness, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. For the consistency, it does feel like this and the last one it generated could be in the same coloring book. So I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Now for the generation speed, it was super fast, way faster than I expected. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. It's getting interesting, but let us see what and how well the next AI tool can do. Next up is coloring book AI. I'm going to paste the same exact prompt, keeping every other thing intact, and I'm hitting generate. Now, this is what this AI tool gives us. When you look at it, this seems sort of close. However, when you put it side by what we are trying to clone, you can still see the difference. But I actually think this is the closest out of all others. What do you think in the comment section? Which do you think generated the image best? Here is the original bestseller we're trying to clone, and these are the outputs, A, B, C, D. Which of them seems closest to the original? Drop your answers in the comment section. I would absolutely love to hear it. So for the accuracy level, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. For the cleanliness, you can see that the outlines seem mostly complete, except some we have here on this pizza. So for that, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. How well was it able to manage distortions? When you look at it, there are actually no distortions. The pizza looks great. The shapes look great. So I'm going to say this really did handle the distortion well. And I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. This can actually pass as a KDP page. So for the KDP readiness, I'm going to give it an 8.5 as well. For the consistency, this as well as the last one it generated did feel like they could be in the same book. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. And for the generation speed, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because it did take like about a minute. Next up, we are going to be going to check eye coloring. Can eye coloring do better than coloring book AI and all the others? I mean, I have so much hope for this tool. So I've pasted the prompt, I'm keeping every other feature same, and I'm hitting generate. Let's see what this tool can do. I mean, I don't even know what to say, but let's take a look. When you put this side by side with the original, you can see the obvious difference. So for the accuracy, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 10. For the cleanliness, the lines look neat. However, you can see that the write-up keeps missing eye. I mean, Who programmed these tools? Why do they keep forgetting I in pizza? Anyway, for the cleanliness, I'm going to give it a 7.5. How well can it handle distortion? How well was it able to handle distortion? I mean, why is a pizza hung up on the wall? Is that normal? That seems weird though. For the distortion level, I'm going to give it a 6.5. For the KDP readiness, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Now for the generation speed, it did take a really short amount of time, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a 10 out of 10. Now, at this point, I realized something. The prettiest output weren't necessarily the best coloring pages. Some tools went off the actual prompt that we gave it in terms of its generation. Others looked great until you zoom in and you see a lot of incomplete outlines, a lot of distortions. So out of the first round and the second round, here are the current ratings. Let us see who is winning. Now we're heading into the third and the most difficult round, and this will determine which tool I would say can actually generate KDP images better enough. This is the image we are trying to recreate. You can see there's a lot of things going on in the background and some things that require very precise positioning. So let's see how well each of these tools can try to clone this image and how well they can handle it. First off is ChatGPT, and I'm pasting in the prompt that I got from Claude AI, and I'm hitting enter. By the way, if you're enjoying this experiment and you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit the like button, tap the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell icon so when next I drop a new video, you will be the very first to see it. Oh my god, it did try. This actually looks fine on its own. However, when you put it side by side with the bestseller we're trying to clone, you can see the difference. Now, this round also tests their level of handling complexity. So for the accuracy level, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. The cleanliness, when you zoom in, it does look clean. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. How well was it able to handle distortion? There's just a little bit of excesses in some areas, but it did handle the distortion level well, even though this is supposed to be a very complex image. And for that, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. For the KDP readiness, this could actually pass for a KDP coloring book, and for that I will give it an 8.5 out of 10. For the consistency, it does feel like it could be in the same coloring book. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, and the generation speed, it did take some time, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. The next up is Canva AI. Can Canva actually do something better? Honestly, I'm losing faith in Canva because it seems like as it keeps going, the images just keep getting worse, but I don't want to give up yet because this is the final. Any tool could actually blow me away. So I'm pasting the exact same prompt and I'm hitting generate. Oh my. It gave 3 as well. I'm going to pick the first one and assume that's better because, I mean, that's what obviously looks better. Oh my god. I mean, where do we even start from? For the accuracy level, this is a 0. In fact, I would like to take some points out of that 0. For the cleanliness, it is not clean at all. You can see the messy lines, the incomplete lines. It's just funny looking. I'm going to give it a 0. For the distortion level, how well was it able to handle distortion? I'm going to give it 0 because it's like it embodied the distortion. I mean, what is this? It looks like a goat's feet. What is this? Is this a spider? Is this supposed to be a slippers? When you put it side by side with the original image, that Canva gave is so unrecognizable. For the KDP readiness, it's going to be, let me give it a 1. I've been giving it 0 all this while. Let's manage a 1. For the consistency level, I'm going to give it a 1 because as it keeps going, this doesn't even feel like it could be in the same coloring book with the others. I mean, it gets worse as it goes. And for the generation speed, I think that's what this AI tool actually excels in. It generates in the twinkling of an eye. So I'm going to give it a 10. I'm a bit disappointed by Canva AI, but let's see if Kittle can make that up for us. So I'm hitting generate. Interesting. This is what Kittle AI gave. When we put it side by side with the actual tool we're trying to clone, it did try its best. So for the accuracy, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. The cleanliness, if you look, you can see the lines are really clean. It's not a messy output. although I don't know what this is supposed to be on the floor. Anyways, for the cleanliness, I'm going to give it a 7. For this distortion level, how well was it able to handle distortions? When you zoom in a little bit, you can hardly find any distortion, except of course in the tab area. This looks weird, but the distortion level is not so much, and for that I'm going to give it an 8. For the KDP readiness, this looks fair to be in a KDP book, so I'm going to give it a 6.5. For the consistency, you can tell that as it keeps generating, the images sort of deteriorate a little bit in terms of following the prompt and giving better output. So for the consistency, I'm going to give it a 5.5. For the generation speed, it does take very short period of time, so I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. So Keto did do well, better than Canva AI. So let us see if the next two can blow the others out of the water. So the next up is this coloring book AI tool. I'm keeping every other feature intact and I'm going to hit generate. Wow, this is actually way closer than I expected. I mean, way closer even in terms of the heart shape. And when you put this side by side with the original image, this actually looks really good. I mean, when you zoom it out, for the accuracy, I'm going to give this an 8.5. I mean, it really outdid itself. For the cleanliness, I'm zooming in and the lines just seem perfect. Everything just looks clean and complete. No messy outputs. In terms of how well it managed the distortions, honestly, I would give this a 10 out of 10. I mean, did you spot any distortion? Because I can't. For the KDP readiness, this can actually pass as a KDP coloring image. So I'm going to give this a 10. For the consistency, you can tell that this and the others it generated could fit into the same coloring book. So I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. And for the generation speed, it does take its time. Just maybe that's the reason why it gives better images. I'm not so certain, but it does take its time. So for that, of course, we wanted fast generation speed. So for that, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Now, next up is eye coloring. Let's see if this one can set a new bar, a new standard for the others. So I'm pasting the prompt here and I'm going to hit generate. This actually also tried. I mean, it did try its best. So for the accuracy, I'm going to give it a 5. For the cleanliness, when you take a zoom at it, you can see the lines looping it. It's not messy. So for that, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. How well was it able to manage distortions? When you do look at it, you can see some distortions in some areas. I mean, a few though, you can tell with the tab here. How well was it able to manage distortion? I will give that a 7. The KDP readiness, I'm going to give it a 6. In terms of the consistency, it does feel like the other images as well as this, they do feel like they could all be in the same coloring book. So for that, I would give it a 7. For the generation speed, it did take shorter time, at least than the previous AI tool. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. So right now, these are the results. So for the leaderboard, here's what we have. And the winning tool is actually Coloring Book AI. I mean, you could literally see the differences in the images. Honestly, if you just want quick concept ideas, several of these tools can work actually, maybe simple basic coloring images. But if your goal is creating clean, consistent KDP coloring book pages that can handle complexity as well, Coloring Book AI was consistently the closest to the original bestseller across all 3 rounds. So if you want to test out this tool, Coloring Book AI, I've linked it below. It's in the description as well. And they really have good plans in terms of the pricing plan and even a 30% off on the yearly plan, which helps you save a lot. But if you want to test out the tool, check it out in the description below.